Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. This channel is dedicated to finding out whether I really do know it all or not. Make sure you like and subscribe. This is part of my special series on the COVID-19/coronavirus playlist, I guess. So today's topic is separation anxiety. In other words, why is this social distancing thing so darn difficult to actually have happen? So first of all, probably most of us, including me, had not even really become cognizant of this term before the year 2020, which is less than 3 months old, which is crazy to think about. But you know, social distancing has now become the buzzword. And what that means is keeping at least 6 feet apart. More importantly, actually not coming in contact with as many people as you can. It's surprisingly difficult to do that. So we're going to talk about why that causes issues. But first of all, I think, why is social distancing important? This is going to relate to some things that we had talked about earlier, so I'll link some other videos up here for you to look at. But it's the way of flattening the curve, which means basically it reduces the transmission speed of this virus so that instead of getting a huge spike of people who get it and then going down, you get this much lower spike that goes on like this and then goes back off again. So those are important things to think about. It's very important to realize that you have to flatten this out so that we don't get hospitals saturated. Basically, if you don't do social distancing, many, many more people are going to die who would otherwise be savable. And that's a really important thing, right? One other kind of insidious aspect about this disease is that it doesn't seem to affect a lot of people in very serious ways. In fact, some people have almost no symptoms, which means that even though you're like, I'm good, everything's fine, there's no problems, you could be carrying this. So it becomes important, even if you're healthy, to be practicing social distancing practice. But, you know, it's difficult. So now, why are people ignoring social distancing? There is a lot, especially in the United States. I have a feeling it has a little bit to do with the U.S., but we'll talk about that too. But certainly in the United States, many, many people are ignoring social distancing. Reason number one, it's not easy. That's kind of obvious, but human beings are social animals. We like to be around other people. Even those of us who are more introverts than extroverts like to be around other people from time to time. It's just, you know, it's just who we are as an animal. We also have our routines, right? We have work, we have the gym, we have concerts, we have gatherings, we have get-togethers with friends, we have cookouts. We have Sundays at the beach, whatever it is that you do, we have those routines. We like to do those things. And especially now that it's becoming springtime in the Northern Hemisphere, you know, it's really nice outside right now. Well, it's actually raining outside today, but anyway, it's generally nice outside. That, you know, you just want to get out and do stuff more and you want to be around people. So that it's very difficult to handle the change that has to happen and the mental attitude towards it. Also, if you feel healthy, it's, of course, frustrating to feel like a shut-in, right? You're like, hey, I feel great. I want to go out and do things. And what the hell? Why do I have to, like, stay inside? That sucks. So that's another thing. All right. Number 2 reason is we still actually do have to go out. And that makes it more complicated, right? You still have to get groceries. If you have an animal like a dog or something, you still have to walk the dog. The dog's not going to like hold it for 7 weeks or something. So you got to go walk the dog. So you have to go out anyway, and that makes things more complicated also. On a more mental part or aspect, I guess, there's, I think, kind of a denial of reality that's going on here, especially in younger people. I'll probably put a couple pictures here of spring breakers on the beach, just packing the beaches. But this is not just only younger people. I heard a story about a bunch of seniors living in, I think it was Boca Raton, Florida, at a restaurant, just packed into a restaurant, within the last week or so here, and laughing about the fact that, you know, all of this stuff was going on. It's a denial of the fact that this could happen to you. So I think there's this sense of like, oh, this isn't going to happen to me, right? That's like kind of a syndrome almost. And especially for people who are younger and more healthy, there's a definite like, I'm young, I'm healthy. This, even if I get it, it won't be bad. It might be bad. Statistically, it probably won't be bad, but it might be bad. So, you know, watch out for that. So that was 3 reasons. The 4th reason is, especially in the United States, we have a lot of authority problems. I know that I do, right? As soon as somebody says you can't do that, I want to do it. So as soon as people say practice social distancing, there's a subset of people who are like, don't do it. I'm not going to do it because what right do they have to tell me what to do? I think in some other countries, people are a little bit more used to authority like that, and so it may be easier for people to deal with this type of authority. But specifically in the United States and in Europe, there's a lot of countries, Australia, I assume, there's a lot of countries where people are much more independent, and I think that actually does have some issues. It presents some issues that we have to deal with in terms of social distancing. And the last, at least again in the United States, and I think in a lot of other countries, is a lack of a holistic response from the government. I'm not going to get into politics here, but I think it's reasonable to say when you have a local government that has a different policy than your regional government or state government that has a different policy than your national government, you are going to have problems because you have mixed messages. I live in Athens, Georgia. The entire Clark County, the county that we're in, is closed down. It's shut down. But the counties surrounding us are not. So literally people can get in their car and they can drive 5, 10 minutes, whatever, to another county and proceed to do exactly the same things that they were doing here. So effectively what's happening is that the local businesses are being crushed because they're being shut down inside of Athens. Whereas all of the businesses outside are doing great and they're still going on. It's an inadequate response. You can't have a subset saying you have to practice social distancing from the governmental, point of view, from authority point of view, and then right next to that saying like, nah, never mind, it doesn't matter that much. And so we're not getting like a state level response in a lot of states. Now some states like Illinois and California and I believe Florida are implementing these things, but a lot of other states are not, and certainly the United States as a whole has not. And you can see where this leads, right? In Italy, which is a couple of weeks ahead of the U.S. in terms of how bad this all is, there was a kind of a slow and piecemeal response, and now that there's finally a big, heavy national response, it's kind of too late. So people need to get ahead of this. It's really important. I find it frustrating that, for example, my gym won't give me any kind of extension on my membership or a refund or anything because there's a gym in the county next door that's still open, that's part of their chain. And I'm like, hey, man, you guys should be supporting us in it's a problem for me. I don't like not going to the gym. So, you should be supporting us and helping us in that, not actively trying to get in the way of that. So that's very annoying. All right. So what can we do about all of this? Well, number one is you got to accept the reality and make the changes. That's a difficult thing to do, but I think it's a change of an outlook. One way to look at this is no matter how long this lasts, it is temporary, whereas death is not temporary. Even if you are young and healthy, you could give it to somebody. Also, how would you like to deal with the guilt of maybe you gave it to a parent or a grandparent because you were a carrier and you didn't realize you had it? Right? You don't want to be that person. You don't want to live with that for the rest of your life. A few weeks of this, possibly a couple of months of this, is going to suck entirely, but it's a whole lot better than the alternatives that we have. Number 2 reason, what can we do, is to think of others, right? So even if you're frustrated and you're like, oh, this sucks, you can think of others and you can do this for them. Do this for your parents. Do it for your grandparents. Do it for your sick relatives or friends or something. This is what you need to do. Another way to do this is to find ways to be social without contact. I have heard of some people kind of like on streets, even you're on opposite sides of the street or something like that, but you can come out and you can wave at each other and you can have a kind of a yelled conversation or something. Again, assuming local ordinances allow you to do this. You can certainly get on the internet and you can, do your thing on the internet, and you can have social contact, and you can FaceTime people or WhatsApp people or whatever. You can have social contact that way. Of course, it's not the same as in person, but at least it's something. And then the last thing is find new ways to be fulfilled. And interestingly enough, I'm going to table that conversation for another video, which I might do tomorrow. I think, in fact, I probably will do it tomorrow. But I think finding new ways to be fulfilled is actually a really important thing to do. So that means kind of recasting your brain and trying to come up with other things to do. So again, I'll table that. We'll talk about that in another video coming up in the future. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful. Again, I am not a huge fan of social distancing. I really, really hate it myself. I hate that my routine is messed up. I love my routine, but it's super, super important. You just can't emphasize enough how important it is to practice social distancing. We have to keep that curve flat. We can't allow the spike to happen and for hospitals to become overwhelmed and doctors to become overwhelmed. And then people are going to die unnecessarily. And so that's literally what it comes down to. You need to do it even though you don't want to. And I know people don't want to and I don't want to, but you need to do it. All right. Yay. That's exciting stuff, right? So make sure you like and subscribe, and definitely make sure you ask questions in the comments for me to answer, or ask them at drknowitallknows@gmail.com. I will roll these out every single day, and I will continue to try to answer questions as rapidly as I can get to them. I hope these prove to be useful, and thank you very much. Until next time, bye-bye.